Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, good. I'm glad you hear me. Not getting a good signal from YouTube that it's doing any audio, so. Hey, hello from New Mexico and Connecticut. Wow. Yeah, just latest on Cherie. She's doing better. She's, moving along. She just called me, said she fell off the bed today. She just kind of slipped, but she's no scratches or anything. She's got a whoop. She was kind of missed her shot when she was sitting down. But other than that, she's improving. So thank you. I got almost too much light here. It seems like makes me look really pale, but maybe I look better somewhere else. Hey, from Las Vegas. Right, probably. Oh, yeah. You all have gotten some snow down there, right? If I remember right. Arizona, you're getting snow too. I think everybody in southern side, I think, is getting all the snow. Me, I have to wear a jacket now because, we got one side of the house on that end and the other side of the house on this end, and we shut the door so the, noises don't come in and interfere. And all that does is the temperature gauge is on that side, so it stays nice and warm in there, and then I freeze out over here. So. Oh well, you probably. Now that is interesting. I'm going to go check that out on relatives around. You have to go to a different place for relatives at RootsTech from relatives around me. Let me go check the app. I'm going to open that. See what I see here. Go to family tree. I got a new phone, so I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. Okay, you went to family tree. Yeah, and if you go at the very top on family tree, you push find relatives at RootsTech, that's what's there, but you should be able to do more. Oh, you're right, they did change it. I didn't notice that. That's because we've turned on relatives at RootsTech for RootsTech. Let me see if there's, yeah. I never paid attention to that because the only time I really did it was when I was at RootsTech. I obviously wasn't doing relatives around me. Yeah, I'll mention that to my guy. See only relatives at RootsTech. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, sure enough, that's what's happening. Oh, 86. That's pretty warm. Australia. Yeah, Las Vegas probably enjoyed having that snow. I don't know if it's you, but people over here are crazy when it snows. They said we've lost our knowledge. Usually in Utah, snow starts in Thanksgiving. Kind of, lets up sometimes afterwards, but usually mid-December it's snowing and you got white Christmas and then it's just piling on in January and February and all that. And we didn't have anything in last year, and it wasn't until, this month. We didn't have anything in really much in October, or usually around after Halloween is when it really starts going. It's often the Halloween has snow. We didn't get anything, and so now we're getting snow, and now everybody's crashing because we didn't learn when the snow was smaller in October, November, and December how to drive in snow, and so now we're trying to learn now, and we got a bunch of snow. So yeah, Idaho, you guys have been slammed for some time. I think all the snow was going up there, up north. So. All righty. Well, I need to have you get more questions to me because I don't know what to talk about. You're going to have to start putting some questions that you have. I only have 3 questions that have been pre-submitted. So I tried to sit here and think about some stuff that I could talk about. I don't know if I have anything in particular, so we'll have to see who needs answering. So Debbie says, when will the option to print an FOR be removed from the ordinance page? I was able to attend the temple recently and thought I would just take an FOR and have my card printed at the temple, and that was a no-go. Yeah, because in the latest openings of the temples, they're still in not fully opened. And so in the not fully opened, they will not print your cards for you. That's just to limit contact. And so for the foreseeable future, until something changes, you taking an FOR wouldn't help you at all, unless you live in those areas where they have those, some places have these family history centers or assistant places where you can go in and print cards there. That's the only place I think you could probably take those. I don't even know if those are open because we don't really have any here in Utah that I'm aware of. We may, but so for the time being, from now to the foreseeable future, you're gonna have to print your own cards at home. Yeah, yeah. Debbie Colleen says she's got plenty to share if you want some. So that's great. Linda says, I've been asked this and can't remember your answer. If I share an ordinance with the temple and someone requests it, but it doesn't get done in their allotted time, does the ordinance return to me or to the original place in the shared temple file? So the answer to that is it returns to the shared temple file in its original place. So we do that based on date. We record the date that you shared it with the temple, and we just make sure that if that gets pulled, like it turns into a 90-dayer, and if somebody pulls it for the 90-day, and they don't get it done within the 90 days, then that reservation just gets removed, and essentially it's still in the same place it was always in on the shared temple list. So yeah, it stays in the temple list and it doesn't lose its place in line. Let's see, online here we got Judith. When we move around and finally search, would it be possible for the cursor to always be in the search box? It sometimes works in recents now, but not always. Yeah, I talked to my team, and I thought they were fixing that to put the cursor in the recents box to type it in. But do you happen to know did it happen? Did this happen when you were moving from one person to another person, or were you going to like the tree view and then back to a person? Can you give me some sort of idea there? I'll let you try to remember and type in there. That will help us know when it's not going back into the box. Seems like when you put recents, it ought to put it in the box. That's what you all requested. I believe that's what we made it fix, but there must be a case when in a situation when it's not doing that. Alrighty, back over to the previously entered in list. It says, this is from Mary, it says the Social Security Death Index, when shown as a hint for a person, does not show any information. I've noticed this for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Previously, it would show info like death, date, birth date, etc. I've noticed this for multiple people, so it seems to be fairly consistent. She entered this in about 5 days ago. Here's one of the PIDs example, and I went and looked at that PID, Mary, and they got it working. So the problem, it was probably over in the records area, and they probably were notified, and then they finally saw what the problem was, and they took care of it. So before I started the live, I went and checked on your PID that you provided, Mary, and it's the Social Security Death Index is there. When you click on it, it opens up nicely and shows the death date and other information that was captured as part of the Social Security Death Index. Okay, Rebecca, on the timeline for an individual on the map, you can click on Show Route. When the route appears on the route, when the route appears on the route, there are little white square boxes with numbers in them. What do these represent? I believe that they represent multiple events in that particular person's life. Let me go look here. I'll do it in one of these things. We go into the timeline. Let's see if I can show route. You're talking about the mobile app, probably. Is it the mobile app? No, it should be on the site too. Show, okay. Yeah, I think that's the mobile app, right? Let me go to a person here. Oh, that's odd. I can't seem to figure out where to show route. Not showing up there. Okay. Well, I'm not going to keep digging around looking for that, so I'll have to rethink that one. Let me just put a note here. But I believe that it means multiple events are happening in that particular place. All right. Nancy, can you tell us more about the proposed feature of adding an action from a detail page to the things to do section on the home page? Well, the only thing I was talking about, I think we talked about that last time or the time before. And what I want to do is to start making the to-do list a little bit more valuable. Right now, you have to be on the home page, the logged in home page, to be able to enter in a to-do, and the to-do can only be so many characters long. And that to-do software that they built has a whole lot more features than that. And what I'd like to do is take that to-do list and treat it sort of like the source box. You have a source box, and it's underneath your name. So you click your name, and you can see source box, and you can go see sources that you've held and that you wanted to remember. I'd kind of like to have a to-do list that's under your name, and you can go to-do list, or you just go to any person in your tree and it has a do for you. So you would type in you'd click the idea is that you're sitting on a person page and you click the to-do button and you say what you want to do. Now we do the same thing when you want to, on the person page, you can go into the person page and you can, let me just go up here. You can go to a person page and you can say, I want to message somebody. You go to the person and you can go to like details or something, and you want to message a person, send a message. And the purpose of the send a message on the person page, when you click on someone's contributor ID or contributor name, and it has a send a message, what it does is it pre-populates part of the message with the PID and the information of the person you're on. So I'd like to do that same sort of thing, but do it as a to-do as opposed to sending a message. So, and then I want you to be able to see your to-dos without having to go all the way back to the logged in homepage. I want you to be able to just click your name, click to-dos, and you can see your list of to-dos. Or maybe we even get, now I'm making it up. So we can get smarter, and when you go to a particular person page, we can look and see if there's any to-dos on your to-do list about that person, and then show them to you or something. That's what I want to make them more useful, because the purpose of a to-do is this is work I need to be doing, and you may have multiple to-dos about the same person, and so it would be great to just show those things and make them useful. So you can create a to-do wherever you are. You could be sitting on a source, create a to-do that says, hey, see if this is associated with Grandpa George or something, because you think maybe that's a record about that ancestor, and then you won't forget because it'll be in your to-do list, right? So that's the idea. All right. Okay. Yeah, Judith, it'd be great if you could figure out what pages I guess you're always going to it. So I'll just make a note that there's just a problem there. So cursor, not always in recents PID box. Okay. So CL Stan says, hello, could the labels applied in the changes to people I am following list, please, also show up in the all changes list? Go look at that. Go to my following list. Oh, I see. So you filter by all changes. You want to see the same thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Show. Okay. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing. I apparently missed that. All right. Rebecca, the colored teardrops show multi-events, but the white boxes don't seem to relate to anything. I'm still trying to figure out where that is. Is that... I've seen that before, but I can't seem to get it to work. So I go to a person. Help me out. You think I'd know how to do this? I've done it 100 times. Okay, I'll go to a person. Looking at the timeline. Oh, there it is. Wonder why I didn't see that in that other person. Maybe he didn't have more than one event. Click show right things. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it's just the order. Yeah, the boxes are order. So Just a second here. Try it again. Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's the order. Yeah, it's order. Just line 1 means that's birth, and it goes to the next event on the list. So, and then that's line 1 from birth. Like in my particular case, for the person I'm looking at, went from birth to this was about my great grandfather. So he was born, lived in the same, even in that area all the time, got married in Salt Lake. So route from birth to Salt Lake is number 1. That's the first event change. And then from Salt Lake down to, the second one was Salt Lake to a different town that he lived in. Birth of a child. It was the birth of a child. And that was labeled second event. So one was birth, his birth, and then marriage. Then line 2 was marriage to birth of first child. And then line 3, in this particular case, was a move. They moved to a different house, moved to a different location. Then 4 was the next event, which is when he had military draft and a parent died. And then the next one after that is he goes to death of a sibling, and then another death of a sibling, death of a parent, and then the last one was where he moved to the final move. So those numbers, white box numbers, represent the order of events, order between 2 events. So it starts at birth and goes through each of the events, and that's what it's labeling. That's what the squares are with the numbers in it. Let's see. Yeah, the white boxes then, Rebecca, are the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Judith, could those to-do lists be a general one and also listed on the person page connected by the PID? Yeah. I have no intention of. Well, it'd be general, and the reason I was thinking about putting in the header, because then you could be on any page and you go, oh wait, I need to do that, and then you could go up to the thing, click your name, pick the to-do list, and then add a to-do list. So I just think that that'd be good to have everywhere instead of having to go back to your home page. So that's the idea there. So it's the to-do list is always going to be general. It's just when you're sitting on a PID, maybe it fills in one of those extra labels because you're talking about a particular PID. I don't know what you're saying here, Nancy. Would love increased functionality of 2D0 feature? I don't know what that is. To do? Oh, would love increased functionality of the to do feature. Yeah. It's been a while since I've been messing with texts that are abbreviations. Okay, I got it. Yeah, okay. Steve, could the labels applied in the changes to people I am following show up in the person's profile page? That gets a little tougher. It's a little tougher. Let me tell you why that's tougher. Because there's, a million people that see that page. And so what would happen is this would slow everything down. Every page every person went to, we would have to go look at all the labels that they have on their following. They have to look at everybody that they're following and see if that person's the same as the one on the page you're looking at. And so although it would be convenient, we wouldn't do that automatically because that's just too much hitting the system. anytime anybody or anybody moves to another PID or looks at another person, and you look at a lot of persons in just a short period of time, the system would have to go and get all that data and try to figure out if that's on your list or not. So we wouldn't do it automatically if we were to do it. But, you know, maybe there's a, I don't know, a button maybe. Only thing I can think of is a button that maybe, I don't know, people would be interested in pushing it. All right, Jim, when you add a marriage record using SourceThinker, why does the earlier marriage date remain for the couple on their person page? Please auto replace with new marriage date. Well, Jim, if there's multiple, we have room for one date, and we had to make a choice. It's either going to be the most, the earliest date or the last date, and we felt that in probably 90% of the cases or more, the first marriage date is always the relevant one. So, getting the second date, and then if you have 3 marriage dates, which one do you show, So we just show the first one. And if there's more than one marriage date, then I don't know if they got divorced in between or if there are 3 different marriages and people haven't agreed on what the actual marriage date is. So you'd have to let me know, Jim, what you're talking about there. But, what's the new date? Is a new date an earlier date or a last date? Or so if the first date's an estimate, then it's not legit, right? Then maybe you place it with the valid date and get rid of the estimated date. If you have evidence that that's the real date, then get rid of the other dates, that have to do with the marriage. We don't want to keep all of the, we don't have 15 marriage dates in there and nobody is willing to clean it up and put it in the exact right place. So that's my first one. That's what I would do. Delete the first one and add or edit the first one and change it to something else. Julia and Ross, why isn't there a tag for marriage records to connect the source to the marriage field? Yeah, we haven't done that yet. So there is a place for you to attach the source, but you can't tag it. And that is because we haven't, it's on our list. We've been talking about it. The issue is things like marriage dates, residences, all those things are the same kinds of things. You can't tag things to other information, for instance, especially when they can be multiple of the other information, like multiple residences. You want to put a source on each residence, right? And that's valid. It's legit. We just have not, the priority of that has not gotten high enough to where, we were getting close. Like this last year, we were starting to work on it and figure out how we're going to do it. I believe they came up with a solution on how to do that and what to do when somebody deletes that residence, for instance, if I'm using residence as an example, or alternate name or any of those. But then when it came time to implement, we were priorities shifted and we had to go do some other things. So we want that. It's still on the list. It's not going to go away. But we don't have any idea when that's when that will float to the top enough to do that work. In the meantime, I'd probably, you could put a reference to the source in the notes if you wanted. That's probably the next best place. Okay, Judith, when using Source Linker, don't add the marriage date if you already have it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just add another one. All right. So let me see. I don't think we have any more questions. All right. Somebody needs to start making up questions. We've been 30 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I could talk a little bit about Roots Tech. If you haven't signed up for Roots Tech, you should. It's going to be interesting. It's all virtual this year. And if you notice at the very beginning, we had mention of the fact that relatives around you, that's flipped to Roots Tech, relatives to Roots Tech, the tool, the mobile app. We didn't want to have to release a bunch of changes to the mobile app, so we just turned on Relatives of Roots Tech because it's turned on right now, because we're encouraging people to come and sign in and sign up for Relatives at Roots Tech, so you can see how you're connected to your friends and to your relatives. So you can do that. I encourage you to go do that. And it helps others find connections too, because the more people who sign in and find and do Relatives at Roots Tech or sign up for it, your tree becomes part of the millions of trees that are available for people who may be connected through you. So come and sign up. There's lots of classes. People have volunteered and requested opportunity to put in some classes about all different kinds of subjects. So the team's been reviewing those and prepping them and getting them organized so you can find those classes and sets. They're probably going to do some in sets, but depending on what you're looking for. And it's not very far away. It's still about a month away, a little less than a month away. So it's going to be interesting. I've done, I've got like 4 videos that I uploaded for some classes talking about what's coming and what's new and things like that. The venue is that, the classes, most classes will be shorter, so that you don't have to feel like you're sitting there staring at a screen forever. And I'll have to kind of crawl around. I don't know if I can see much of the classes yet, but we're kind of testing it today. So we were all banging on it today just to see if it could hold up with the volume of potential visitors for Roots Tech. So I'd encourage you to do so and get signed up, and you can probably find some good classes. There's going to be good speakers. That's the same speakers. So many are the same that have given in the past that were very popular. They're coming and they're doing stuff. Ancestry, all these companies will be there. My Heritage from my past, all those will be there, and they've provided videos, and they'll have booths, and they'll have people answering chats and questions as people are here at Roots Tech and virtually. We're gonna try to make it as good as we can. So that people can have a great experience and see some of the classes. There's lots of classes, so it'll be really interesting. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Karen, I am presenting at Roots Tech. Like I said, I have a course on what's new and a course on what's coming. I actually have 4 courses because 2 of them are geared towards members of the church, so they talk specifically about temple things and qualifications and the things we're doing for members of the church. And then I have 2 more classes that talk about different things that are more for general population, the general public and members. That's not a repeated. I didn't repeat. So if you're a member, you need to watch those 2 and these 2. If you're public, watch these 2. I don't care if you watch the temple ones. It won't mean much to you, but. So I did 4 videos, which represented 2 classes that I just split in half. One is what's new, and one is what's coming in both cases. Can marriage date and place be like birth and death vitals? Show all values and use the best one. Well, you can see all values when you open the relationship. The problem, and I'm thinking what you're thinking here, Steve, is that you may have been the one there was someone, it might be you, that sent to me a suggestion on, taking the little box that's normally on the person page and has the husband and the wife, in that order, and the bolded one is the one that your page you're on, and it shows one date. And whoever sent this was clever and said, well, we can just expand the size of the box. The problem with that is it's just too dynamic of a thing. We always that means we recalculate the page every time anybody looks at it and anytime anything's adjusted. So, but if you just click the little square thing, it pops up off to the side, doesn't block anything about marriages. That'll show all the marriage dates, all the sources, and notes. So, although that may be nice and interesting, it just becomes more data that has to be transferred around between the tree and the front end. And and priority also has to be there for us to go do that. Michael, sources are sometimes the very same multiple lines. Should you add them all? Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you have duplicate sources, and you want to know if you should attach all those sources. Well, the problem is that you're going to get annoyed by the system because it's going to want to attach those sources if they believe that that's part of that person. If you block those sources and say they're not a match, now we do an analysis periodically that says, oh, we must have screwed up how we do hinting. And so we adjust the system, we potentially adjust because you told us it wasn't a match. So we must have done something wrong. So we go look at it. So even though it is annoying, I know it is, and painful, I just recommend attaching. The biggest problem that causes this is obituaries. Because if you think about a source in the physical world is a piece of paper, right? The source is a piece of paper, or it's an electronic piece of data. And if it's obituary, let's say, how many newspapers were printed this obituary? So you could have had a death of a family member, and they lived in this area, and they lived in this area, and they lived in this town, this city, and this city, and you want to put the obituary notice in all of those 3 cities. Well, that means that's 3 obituaries, okay? And then you say, I want that obituary run for 5 days or something like that. Well, now you got 15 obituaries, right, that are in the newspaper. Each newspaper is a different volume or book or whatever. And so when we do it, we take a picture of, we do the indexing of this obituary in this in this paper on this day, the obituary on this paper, it may be the same newspaper, but a different day, and so forth. The 5 days of that is 5 identical obituaries. Now you do it in 3 different cities, and now you've got 15 independent obituaries that are identical to one another. So we've had talked about, automatically figuring out if they're identical. But if we have to trade off between spending energy on finding identicals versus getting more records, we usually opt for getting more records because we want more information and more opportunities for you to find family members that you don't have records for. So that's what makes that tough. Previously, when this has come up, the thing that I talk about is I think we can help you by allowing you to collapse sources. So, or identical sources, let's say it that way, because you really don't want to. So we worked on this a little bit. We had a couple of ideas. One of the ideas was to collapse it. So you could take one source and drag it on top of another source, and it would collapse into one source. But you could click the little arrow, and it would show you both sources if you wanted to look at them. And you just collapse them. So if you had 15 of them, you take 14 of them and dump them in the same on top of the same source, on top of the first one, and then it ends up being one source. And then if somebody opens it up, they'll see all 15 or so. And then they can drill in each one they want, realize, oh, it's all the same source, so no big deal. But we didn't get to the point where we could build that. So we talked about it. We felt like that was a good choice. We had several other options to go, and then we were asked to do other work. So I recommend just attaching it. I know it can get frustrating, especially with obituaries, but I recommend doing that, or just skip. If you see obituary, just leave it and let somebody else do it. It doesn't matter, but in reality, you should attach them all, if it's really about that person. So that was kind of long-winded, but I needed to say the story and that we knew what you meant, and I knew that it's frustrating. Okay. Researching my family tree. In early January, I uploaded 26 photos of memories and tagged them to 57 people. When I looked at my contributions for 2021, it said I had 288 contributions for memories. How is that calculated? Each time you attach, my contributions is contributions to family tree, not contributions to memory. So there's memories as a separate number, if I remember right. Let me go over and look at my contributions. Yeah, I think memories was a different category. So I think stats point out source, so all, and then has sources, memories, and people. And so I believe the sources are counting all the sources you attached. The memories are counting all the memories you attached, and people, all the people you created. So when you look at memories, I think what's happening is it includes attachments. So I think you're seeing a bigger number because you attach those photos to multiple people. So that is how I believe is the intent there. Karen said, I'd love to collaborate on memories of living people. Is that feature likely? Great way to engage youth. Yeah, we've been struggling with this particular feature. It is getting some more attention as we're doing some other work. We've talked about, I've talked about it and called it shared family group, where you could, well, first off, I would first off say, Karen, you don't need any new features in order to do what you're saying to do. For instance, you can put memories into an album, and you can share that album with any other user in Family Search or outside of Family Search. They can even, you can share it with people that don't even have a Family Search account. And when they click on that album and come back to Family Search, they'll be able to see the sources or see the memories that are in that album. Okay, so you don't need to do anything to do that. If you want to engage youth, you could just send them the album, and they can look at the pictures, and they can add comments on the picture right at the bottom of the picture. They can add little thoughts or comments or things like that. But at the same time, we also think that it's valuable to have everyone in the family that you desire to see all the same persons in the tree, so that when they add when person A adds a memory to a living person inside this shared family group area, that everybody else that's invited to that shared family group area also sees that memory. This is how it was way back when we first started memories. Anybody who could see that person could see that memory as well, and that was great. But it caused some issues with privacy and things like that we had to correct. and complicated the system. So we had to sort of break that apart and have people have separate living areas to prevent any spillover into showing living people to others that we shouldn't be showing. So that was part of the motivation as to how we ended up getting to where we are now. But now we want to do a way to have another shared group that everybody can come and join in together and see the same people, but it's using permissions that social media have, right? Like in social media, it says, I'm willing to share this with this group of people. And so those are sort of the ideas we're working on and beginning to build, but it's going to be a while. But eventually, hopefully, if it keeps going, we'll build an area where you could put in some living people in there, invite family members, then you'll all see the same living set. So I'm not sure which exactly you're looking for, just the memories to get people excited, or the fact that you're seeing living people, family members with those memories. And they can add more. That's what we really love to see too. Have them add a story of their own when they read somebody else's story about that person. Adeline, if you do not register for RootsTech, can you view any sessions later? Well, I haven't heard any official word about how long the sessions from RootsTech are going to stay up. They are going to, I believe the current wind I'm hearing is that the sessions will continue to remain on the RootsTech Connect for some period of time. I don't know how long that period of time is, but I think it's not all going to disappear right after RootsTech is over. But I believe you will still have to register for RootsTech. I don't think you have, and I'll have to check. Let me find that out. I don't think you have to register before RootsTech in order to register later for RootsTech. So I'm going to check that out. Someone asks, can you register after RootsTech to see the RootsTech videos? I will ask that. Good question. I hadn't thought. I figured everybody would register ahead of time, and if they ended up not coming, that's okay. But all right. It is nice to know how. I gotta get a drink and get dry. It's nice to know how we get multiple identical sources and to know you are aware and have considered addressing this. Oh, well, thank you, Michael. Yeah. Well, I've been, you're not the only one who sees that stuff, and they kind of yelled at me a little bit in the past. So thank you. Any other questions out there? About 8:20, we can talk. Let's see what else is happening at RootsTech. We're going to have RootsTech will have chats, like I said. The intent also is for you, you'll be able to create your own chat rooms. So you'll be able in RootsTech to say, I want to get these 5 relatives together, and you know that they've signed up for RootsTech. You could create a chat room and give it a name and invite people to that particular chat room and chat together. Or maybe you found relatives at RootsTech and you want to kind of get together. Someone can create a chat and then invite the others, and you can come in and chat and get to know each other and stuff. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, about that. Why not register? It doesn't cost anything. It's all free, and you don't have to attend during those days. But I believe the videos will still be around. So, Steve, if I had a living person from a source such as a census, does the system check to see if they could be deceased or do W? So that's okay. What we do when you have a record and the record, if the record has death information on the record, we will automatically mark that person as deceased for you. If that specific record that you're using to create this person with through SourceLinker does not have death information on the record, then we will automatically mark it as living. Now there is a way, and I haven't tried it lately, so I can't remember exactly how to do it. There is a way for you to enter in, if you want to mark the person deceased because you're really sure that they're deceased. I wouldn't do it just because you want to, but if you're really sure, like the person's, I don't know, if the record has a birth date and it's over 110, then we'll mark them dead for you too. But if there's no evidence of death on the record, then we don't automatically mark it deceased. You can, if I remember right, you could mark them deceased, but you have to put in a reason statement as to why. What is your justification for marking this person deceased when there is no evidence of any death date in any records? So I wouldn't choose that route. I'd rather mark it living and not have somebody call up support because they marked them as dead. So I usually stay careful with real careful with that, but that's why, because we're looking for death information. We're not going off and trying to search all the records to see if there's a death date for that same person. We just wait for you to create the living person, and then we'll start sending hints to you about that person once you have it in the tree. And one of them may be a death certificate, and then you can attach it, mark them dead, and off you go. Michael, if I add a group picture with deceased and living persons, how does privacy issues work? Let me show you. Let me tell you how that works. Good question. There's lots of pictures in there that are group pictures, right? Grandma, grandpa, all the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids, they're all big old pile, especially in these family reunion pictures and so forth. So what we do is when you take a photo and you just put it up to the site and you haven't attached it to anybody, we show the picture, but there's no data. It's just a bunch of faces, So we show the picture because we don't know whether anybody's dead or alive, and so nobody knows them in there anyway because nobody tagged them. Now, if you tag a person, so you put the little box around them, and you tag them, and then you link them to a person in Family Tree. And that's how you tag, and you can do the tag with just to say their name, but we still don't know if they're dead and alive until you link that tag to a particular PID or a person in the tree. Once you've linked that tag to that person in the tree, then we rely on the status of that person in the tree. So if that person is living, then we will not show their name to anybody but the owner of the picture. If that person is marked deceased, then we show that name to anybody who sees the picture, whether you share it or they find it in a search or they happen to go to that particular PID and see the picture. They'll see the name of the person around their face that has what their name is. So that's how we do it. We assume if you don't give us any data, we assume they're living. We just show the name you give us, and it shows. If you mark them to a person in the tree, we go based on what's in the tree. If they're dead, we show them to everybody. If they're living, we don't show it to anybody but the person who created the tag. So that's how we do that. Or do we do the checking? So living persons could have hints. Yeah, living persons can have hints. And you can do that today. So living person, if you go to a living person and you open the page, we don't pre-calculate living hints. So the deceased hints, we pre-calculate. We go every month, every quarter or so. We take all the new hints, all the new records, we put them in. We go through this extensive calculation to see which persons in the tree match which hints. And then we say, okay, here we're turning on the new set of hints. And then from that moment on, we're recalculating anytime anything changes in the tree to see if there's a match. But when it comes to living, since living are private, we don't want to identify who those PIDs are and where they are. But when you open a living person, in the tree. So you open their person page. We will do a quick search inside of the hinting system to find if there's any records that matches that living person, and then we'll show them. It only takes 3 or 4 seconds, and it should show up on that person page if there's a hint that we think matches that living person. So the only bummer is, instead of getting a record hint on the view or the pedigree or any of the other views, you have to open each of the living people to see if they have a record hint. And we're just doing that purely out of precautions and safety to make sure we don't expose any living information. We wouldn't want those records showing up of living people, and people using that to get information to social engineer or do things, steal identities and stuff. Keith, Roots Tech question: can you set up a chat room such as Descendants of Owen Roe and invite all such descendants? How do you send invitation? Yeah, what they do is you could name it whatever you want to name it, as long as it's unique. So we can't have 2 chat rooms with Descendants of Owen Roe. And the way you invite them is you would have to. This is not a bulk thing. Remember, this is, at least the way I understand it right now. When I was trying it, you have to invite people, and you invite them one at a time. You can't just say invite everybody that's a descendant of Owen Roe. You have to invite each one individually. So, and others I think can invite. I don't know. I didn't try that. I didn't have 2 different people in the same chat trying to invite different people. So I don't know. I'd have to check that out. But so you'd have to do it one at a time. So what I do is, the Roots Tech window and a different window, and then the other, have another window that shows descendants, and then you could just copy and paste their name into the thing and push invite. And I think that'll work. Do I contact Family Search if they post a record hint for why? Oh, for my living father. Do I contact Family Search if they post a record hint for my living father? Yeah. Well, now hold a minute here. There are living records that are public. Okay. Sometimes states, like for instance, Texas, where I am from, all birth certificates are public records. Whether you're alive or dead, it doesn't matter. They're all public. So if they're a public record and they're about a living person, you may find it in when you're looking at, Utah births or what. I can't remember where Utah's is, if they show living births. I don't know what the births are in Utah, but in Texas, they're a kid gets born and it's in the birth records that day when they create the birth record, and it's public information from then on. So it depends on what the record is. You may want to, if you're concerned about it. First off, they probably wouldn't even know it's your father. But if you're concerned about it, Nebraska and naturalization application, yeah, those must be public information. So if you want, you can send me an email, ron@familysearch.org. Give me the information, the record, the actual record. If you want to give me your PID for your living father too, that would help, so I can try to look and see what you're seeing. Or you can just send me your username if you want in the email, and I'll go take a look at that. All right. Well, great. Thank you for asking more questions. I think we had a good discussion. We talked a little bit about Roots Tech. We talked about also, there was plenty of questions in the chat room. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Just, a little update on Cherise. She's doing okay. I mentioned early on that she kind of slid out of bed and landed on the floor a little bit, but she says she's not really hurt or anything. No scrapes or nothing. She kind of misjudged the spot on the bed. She went to go, she kind of get up. They allow her to get up a little bit and move around in her room. She went to go brush her teeth at the sink and then got back to her bed. And when she went to go sit down, she wasn't as close to the bed as she thought she was. So I got to remind her, back up until you feel the bed on your legs and then sit down, or turn around and look before you do it. So thank you very much for your prayers. They certainly help and work. There's been plenty of amazing miracles that have happened to her in her journey, in this journey that she's going through. And you really learn to appreciate others, and thanks for all your prayers and thoughts in her behalf. So I'll go out, let's see, February. Maybe I'll be able to do one in February. Certainly I'm not going to do it later in the month because we are going to be crazy busy with Roots Tech because we have to be all ready to go and prepared, and it'll end up being all hands on deck to try to do this event. And we're still working on finishing up a lot of the stuff. So everybody will be going crazy. So probably won't have anything in the latter half of February. I'll try my best to see if I can get one in the first part of February. But don't be too mad at me if I don't, because like I said, all hands on deck in February. We're only down to like 3 weeks to get everything done. And, you know, as it turned out, we weren't able to get a partner to help us. So we've been building it all ourselves. So it's been crazy. Be patient with us because this is the first time we've ever built anything like this. But I think it's going to work okay, and we'll get better at it as we go along. And thank you so much for coming. I mean, you said, Jesus says, thanks for answering questions. I'm just glad somebody showed up, because I'd feel really funky if I just sitting here all by myself for a while. So thank you for joining, and please have a great evening. And I hope you have a great Roots Tech if we don't end up speaking again. But don't forget, you know, write those questions, put them in over on Facebook, and that way we have plenty of questions to talk about next time. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.